Basically, I gave 5 prelims. I cleared all 5 prelims. I gave 5 mains, but I haven't cleared any mains. In one of the mains, public administration was my optional, and I got lower score in public administration. And the 5th mains that I gave, actually, I felt I would clear it, but in my essay score, actually, I got a 52. Previous essay score was 132. After this, I wanted to exit from preparation, but actually, I filed an RTI also with regard to this, and I wanted to check whether both of my essays are evaluated and is there any papers missing and all these things. And they responded. They said,
Hello UPSC aspirants. Welcome to the second episode of UPSC Beyond UPSC by आपका अपना फेवरेट सरल UPSC. आज हमारे साथ है शैलेश सर, जिन्होंने 5 प्रीलिम्स एग्जाम दिए और हर बार प्रीलिम्स में उनको सक्सेस मिला. अनफॉर्चुनेटली वो बाकी की स्टेजेस को क्लियर नहीं कर पाए और कंसिस्टेंटली प्रीलिम्स को क्रैक करना अपने आप में एक बहुत बड़ी अचीवमेंट है. लेट्स स्टार्ट आवर टुडेस एपिसोड एंड वी विल आस्क शैलेश सर to give a brief introduction about himself to our viewers.
My name is Shailesh Bhupalam. Currently, I am faculty of Indian Economy and Public Administration. I've been teaching for last 6 years. So basically, I started out as a software engineer and I worked for 1.5 years. Then I went to Delhi and prepared for 2 years. And after that in Bangalore, totally I gave 5 attempts and 5 mains in UPSC. Actually, my 3rd attempt, I started teaching parallelly. So this is brief about my प्रोफेशनल लाइफ.
आपके माइंड में सबसे पहला थॉट कब आया यूपीएससी स्टार्ट करने का, या फिर व्हाई यूपीएससी वुड बी माय क्वेश्चन?
बेसिकली आई हैड दिस आइडिया व्हेन आई वाज इन कॉलेज, बट आई डिडंट क्वाइट एक्ट ऑन इट एज सच. व्हेन आई वाज वर्किंग एज अ सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियर, देन आई somewhat started noticing that okay, this is not what exactly I want to do with my life. I wanted a job which has diversity, challenge, and at the same time some sort of impact. I wanted to create, you can say, whatever job I'm doing, I wanted that derive that satisfaction from, you can say, whatever job I was doing. So I was looking for that kind of a job, and I felt UPSC exam and the kind of jobs that I would probably be posted to after this would satisfy whatever my criteria was. So after this, I quit my job as a software engineer and I started.
What would you suggest to the candidates who have some kind of responsibilities at home or some kind of obligations because of which they cannot just leave their job but still want to continue their UPSC preparation? Is it possible, or do you have to completely quit your job and dedicate your full time to the UPSC preparation only?
So in my experience teaching, I've met around 10,000 plus students. What I found common between them, I mean, a lot of students face this struggle where they have other obligations and responsibilities. Sometimes it is taking care of a family member, or sometimes it is, you can say, financial. In these cases, what I found, based on my professional judgment, I would say in some jobs where you don't get any time to study at all, I don't think it would be possible. I mean, this is my opinion of this. So what kind of jobs then would be suitable to prepare for UPSC? I would say a job where you would get approximately around 35 hours a week to 40 hours a week for yourself to prepare is probably an ideal job, where you can actually, along with job, you can prepare for the exam. So on a daily basis, probably you need around 6 hours a day, 3 in the morning, 3 in the evening, however you want to split it. If you don't get this much time, personally, I don't think it would be possible.
So from when did you start preparing? I mean, from which month or how many months ago from the prelims exam did you start your prelims preparation, focused prelims preparation?
So my preparation was largely integrated prelims and mains. Initially, actually, I did not have the confidence because in Delhi, it felt like a huge crowded market. I was just one of lakhs of people. But when I started giving tests and I started consistently getting good ranks, I felt that, okay, whatever my effort is, it is bearing fruit. And I could see the result. But okay, if I do this much, then I'll be able to improve this much. And that gave me confidence. First prelims, I took, I think, 5 months entirely I dedicated for prelims preparation. But the advantage was, after the first prelims, I cleared the first prelims somehow out of luck. I don't think that I cleared the first prelims because of my GS knowledge as such. 2 or 3 questions I got in through luck. But second prelims onwards, I depended on the preparation that I did my first prelims also. Along with that, I kept adding to it, and I consistently kept on clearing prelims. If you're a student writing first prelims, I would say at least 4 to 5 months of complete dedicated prelims preparation is necessary. So this is what my take is on prelims.
So according to you, what is the importance and significance of a test series, especially in the prelims examination? And what kind of test series would you insist or would you recommend the students to join? I mean, online or offline?
There are two parts to this. First thing is about test series. In prelims, I think test series is very important. In UPSC, if you divide the prelims questions into, you can say the types of questions, probably there are three types. One is purely factual. If you know it, you answer it. Second is you have to think and analyze, and it is possible to answer the question using your knowledge and deriving whatever it is, and you can answer it. Using these two types, you can only get to maybe 10-15 marks below the cutoff. So you need that third type of question to be able to push through. And that third type is where you can actually only think on your feet and use your, you can say, some skills to be able to eliminate options, use some intuition that you built by solving a lot of MCQs. And only then you'll be able to actually answer those questions. So today prelims has become somewhat dicey, and what I have found is basically that if you don't practice MCQs and you don't develop that skill, it is somewhat difficult to clear the exam. And this is where test series becomes important. You probably need around 4,000 to 5,000 MCQs of practice, based on whatever my experience is, to be able to develop that skill. Ideally, if you do it on a everyday basis, if you divide it like 25-30 MCQs a day is also good enough. But if you write test series, then the advantage that you get is you'll be able to replicate exam conditions, and that would give you confidence that, okay, I've done this before. When you go to actually exam and you sit there, you'll feel, okay, I've done this through OMR sheet so many times before, and you feel that confidence, and that will make a difference in exam hall. So this is where first question, that is test series, is important. And if you do it, if you write it, it will give you that boost of confidence. First thing. Second thing, it will build up the skill that is necessary to clear prelims. Second, offline or online test series is a question. So for that, I would say offline is better because you can replicate exam conditions. But it is possible to do it through just 4 or 5 offline tests in the end. And initially, the whole phase of practice, you can take online tests. And the last part, it is possible that you can take offline test series also. That would also work.
What were the scores that you had in your attempts, and how many interviews have you appeared for? And from prelims to the interview stage, how will you define your journey?
Basically, I gave 5 prelims. I cleared all 5 prelims. And I gave 5 mains, but I haven't cleared any mains. The last 2 mains that I gave, in one of the mains, public administration was my optional, and I got lower score in public administration. And the 5th mains that I gave, actually, I felt I would clear it, but in my essay score, actually, I got a 52. Previous essay score was 132. After this, I wanted to exit from preparation, but actually I filed an RTI also with regard to this, and I wanted to check whether both of my essays are evaluated, and is there any papers missing and all these things. And they responded. They said, we can tell you on top of this booklet, it is written, 52 is written, but whatever is inside it is protected under Schedule 8 of RTI, and we won't be able to divulge that information. All my 5 attempts, I had public administration as optional. In general, my scores in optional were good until only in 4th attempt it was less. And my GS3 and GS1 scores were also, you can say, always good. So based on that, I chose, whatever I wanted to teach based on, you can say, wherever I've been consistently getting good scores. I felt that this is where I can maybe help students.
Like we know, UPSC is not just about learning or just reading the materials and covering current affairs. It's about your personality, and it's about having a strong, robust mental health, maintaining it throughout the journey. Please tell us how a candidate should maintain their mental health during their preparation, and even if somebody opts to go out of the preparation and try something new in their life, how do they make that transition?
Yes, mental health is actually very important throughout preparation, after that also. Before that, actually, I would also like to point out even physical health is also an important aspect of entire preparation, because this is not something that will be done in 3 months or 4 months. We need to focus on that as well. So actually, I neglected, if I have to be honest, I neglected physical health, mental health, everything, and I just went all in my first 2 attempts. Then after my second attempt, I started getting a back pain. And I went to the doctor. I went to a couple of third doctor, was able to find out that it was vitamin D deficiency. And he said, you need some sunlight. You go and take a walk every morning in the sun, and ask me to drink milk, etc. So if we are not physically healthy, I don't think we'll be able to give 100% to our preparation. Usually I tell my students to maintain a triangle. One is adequate sleep. I've seen many students, they are serious, but they have this mistaken notion that if I reduce my sleep to maybe 4 hours, 5 hours a day and I prepare, then I'll clear the exam. That won't really work, because it's a long-term preparation strategy that you have to work on. So you need 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and you need adequate good nutrition. Don't neglect your food, and you need some 40 minutes to 1 hour of exercise in the long run. Yes, there are some days where you won't be able to do it, but maintain consistency of 4 days a week, or whatever it is possible for you. If you maintain these 3 things, you have a very good foundation for your physical health and also mental health. In India, we have this advantage that most of us are close to our family, and if we can maintain a good relationship with some of our family members, if you are able to talk to our parents on every day or alternate days, this will actually also help a lot. Many students, what they feel is, they feel that, okay, until I clear the exam, I will not talk to anybody. They will try to isolate themselves. But this is not actually a good approach for clearing the exam also and their mental health also. Second thing is, if you have a good community, good group of students who are very serious, here there is a risk that you may get into a group which is not serious. Actually, I was in one such group initially, and I felt that this is not my group of people, and I left, and then I found my own tribe. And this can also help, but like I said, here you have to be careful, and you have to make sure that you find the right kind of people. This will make or break your entire preparation phase. So this can also help in improving mental health. If you feel that there is actually a serious concern here, and you are consistently feeling low, then it is not wrong to take professional help. You can find ways to solve whatever issue it is, and it will improve your quality of life by leaps and bounds. And post preparation, it becomes even more important. In case of myself and also a lot of my friends, we all face similar concerns. Nobody understands our struggle. In reality, we may have put in the same amount of effort, but it doesn't really matter for the world. What matters is whether you actually got the rank or not. So there is no validation, there is no proof that actually I did anything worthwhile in my entire, 20s. So this also becomes important to, have a support group. Usually we find support in those other people who have prepared for UPSC exam. And this is one thing that I found. I found a group of people who support me and I support them, and we find a strong connection because we have gone through the same struggle. Second thing post UPSC mental health is, it is important to break some cycles that we have created during UPSC. What we do in UPSC when preparing is, we don't take breaks at all. We just go all in and we burn out. So that is one thing I think we need to break that cycle, and we need to take good quality breaks here and there. Maybe take a Sunday off. That should be your general quality of lifestyle after you enter into something else. Here I'd like to add that we have a group of ex-UPSC community in Bangalore. It is a meetup self-help type of a group. This also focuses on particularly mental health and career progress, helping each other and such.
Can you suggest any alternate career options for the people who have dropped out of their UPSC preparation?
For UPSC aspirants who have prepared for 3-4 years, they would have developed proficiency in administration, basically leadership skills. What I would suggest is, if you can get into managerial positions, try for particularly those roles. And if you have to get an MBA, executive MBA while you're working, you can join that as well. So that is one thing which will help. Means you can use the UPSC, whatever knowledge you have, the general studies knowledge, in your leadership roles. That is one thing that I have found. As individual contributors, apart from management and leadership roles, I think any generalist role, for example, like a role of a product manager in tech companies, is somewhat generalist and it doesn't require particular technical skills. Similarly, you can say 70%, 80% generalist roles, it is possible for UPSC aspirants to actually get into these roles. But they would not be able to get into it immediately after, exiting UPSC. They have to do some research on these roles. They would identify. It is not very complex. Go to LinkedIn, identify which is the role that you're looking for. Look at the job description, list out all the skills and what they are looking for. Develop those skills. Find some, courses and do some internships. Maybe develop some projects. Create your own, portfolio and show it to them. That this is what I've done and these are the skills. So this is how I feel. Actually, many of my students, at least 3 of them have joined, jobs based on this approach. Recently, one of the girl joined for 9 lakh package. It may not be very high initially, but what I found is, once you join, there will be a difference between you and other people, your competitors there. The kind of rigor and the kind of effort that you are used to put in, others wouldn't be able to do it. So there is very fast growth once you enter any domain from UPSC. So don't get disheartened initially that I'm not getting what is, worth my talent, but you'll be able to get it in due time.
Sir, do you remember just any one thing that you enjoyed during your UPSC preparation? About the preparation, of course.
I was actually interested in governance related aspects and economy also. And the classes that I sat through and I started analyzing, you can say the whole, how economy works. I had no initiation in economy. I was a software engineer and I didn't know how this whole thing works. But those initial days when I started understanding this whole thing, it actually gave that, intellectual stimulation. And there were many instances like this in all of preparation, which I found it to be worth it. Because what I learned that, in those days, actually probably I'll use on everyday basis as a mental model. Okay, this is how it works. This is how this works. So I started enjoying learning new things actually through UPSC preparation. And to this day, I continue learning as a, enjoyable practice on a everyday basis. So particularly of interest, whatever subjects were there for me, like I said, economy and governance, I started enjoying these subjects. And that is one of the reason I took up public administration as well. Today also, I try to take up some problems and how we can solve this particular problem. What is the governance issue here? And how we can think about it from market perspective. So that whole approach has stayed with me even today. So that is one thing I really enjoyed during preparation.
Since you have been through both the domains, engineering and UPSC, do you find any similarities and differences? As in, can you link the two of them for the betterment of the society and for the individual aspirant in his preparation as well?
What is common between both of them is both of them require a certain amount of work. Obviously, UPSC probably requires much more work compared to, becoming an engineer. Even though actually it is a degree, professional degree, I found that in many of the engineers, there is this competitive spirit, which I like. And they try to, you can say, think of, okay, how I can progress further. It is a life-affirming force. That sort of progress and positive thinking is one thing I've found in, you can say, people who are willing to put the effort. And in UPSC also, I found the same. When you go to Old Rajendra Nagar or when you go to Mukherjee Nagar, you find that, you can say, purpose. You find people walking, you can say, fast, and in metro they are reading newspaper, and you find that, you can say, people are willing to put that kind of effort, whatever it takes. So this kind of mindset, I like it very much in people who are preparing for UPSC. And engineering, yes, even there also it is present, but it may be not in everybody and also not to this extent. But at that age, I think at the age of 18, 19, whatever is present, people who take up engineering and struggle through this whole thing is still admirable at that point. And if they nurture that, whatever they have it at that point, actually it is going to be useful for them, for their family, for society, and for the whole country. This is what actually I like about, again, the teaching also. I find students who have so much of energy and enthusiasm that they want to do something. What is common between engineering as a profession and UPSC is both of them are trying to solve problems through different mechanisms maybe, but both of them is basically problem solving. So we identify a problem, we look at it from various dimensions, and we'll try to find all various solutions, which one is best fit. So this sort of mindset also is, it is actually going to be helpful to society, at the same time helps the individual also.
Thus, as you have mentioned the Old Rajendra Nagar and the traditional UPSC circle. So in your opinion, is it still relevant and necessary to go to Delhi or go to such a big city and a big UPSC hub to get good scores and clearing UPSC? Or you have better options and rather smart options available to you at your home, which you can do the same thing and get better results than the actual traditional circles. So in your opinion, what would be a better option for an aspirant right now?
When I was preparing 2013-14, it made sense to go to Delhi and stay there and prepare, because we didn't have the kind of opportunities that we have today. Today, if you look at it, content-wise, teaching-wise, whatever resources you need, the community, everything you will be able to find that online, and you will be able to find the same quality, whatever you get in Delhi, in Old Rajendra Nagar, exact same thing online also. So I don't think it is a necessity. It means, I'm not saying don't go there. Even without going there, you'll be able to clear the exam. What is the intangible advantage that you would get probably if you go there is, you find that environment where there is that kind of heat. It means you find in that, in everybody there is that seriousness, and you feel, socially you feel somewhat a peer pressure that I have to study more than others. That competitive spirit is something that is difficult to replicate online. I mean, as a teacher and somebody who teaches both offline and online, we have tried, but it is possible only in small pockets where a lot of students will, we can say, come together and they're all serious, and that creates an environment. And so that is the only thing. I mean, if you are self-motivated, if you're a self-starter and you're capable of doing it yourself, there is no need to go there at all. But if you feel that at times you need motivation, at times you need external trigger to motivate yourself, then it will help. then it will help if you go to Delhi and stay in those zones where everybody else is preparing.
In your opinion, how do a candidate clear prelims in the very first attempt? And do you think it is very much difficult, or are there any strategies, or there is a role of mentorship in it for an aspirant to clear it in the very first attempt?
To clear prelims in the first attempt, what is required? Basically, you need conceptual clarity on all the subjects. Without conceptual clarity on basics, it is not possible to clear prelims. That is one non-negotiable condition. Second thing, you need a lot of practice of multiple choice questions. And by doing that, we already discussed that point. Basically, you'll develop the skill of solving MCQs. Third thing, you need to identify what are the high priority areas where I can actually push my scores. And you should be able to talk to someone who has developed judgment on what works, what does not work. So there, I feel mentor can help. Mentor can help save your effort by 30-40% where you're doing unnecessary things. So they can show which direction is the right direction for you to go to reduce your effort and yet get, you can say, a score where you can comfortably clear prelims. Other smaller things is if you develop a integrated mindset for both prelims and mains from the beginning, then that might also help. Because we can observe a trend in UPSC where, especially since the coaching industry is moving in the direction of prelims material and mains material separately, since then there is a trend in UPSC where they will ask prelims relevant question in mains, mains relevant question in prelims. So this integrated preparation and depth of understanding of subjects will actually help in clearing prelims in the first attempt, first thing. Second thing, you need to develop a factual base from the beginning. Around 10 to 12 questions, 15 questions every year are purely factual in nature. If you can get, some support there, maybe 4 or 5 questions extra you can answer there, then it will definitely help. So first thing is conceptual clarity. Second is MCQ practice. Third, having a mentor who you meet regularly. And fourth is building a factual base. All these put together, I think it will help us clear prelims in the first attempt.
Sir, you might have seen the 2023 prelims paper, right? And the kind of options and the system they have changed a little bit. So in this changing scenario, how do you think an aspirant should prepare for? Because the elimination method is kind of redundant right now. And the second question, or the second part of this question would be, what are the changes that you expect UPSC to make in their system and exam pattern overall?
So with regard to recent prelims paper, yes, they are you can say changing how they are giving the paper over a period of time, because they want to identify somebody who you can say has cleared exam without any chance and only based on effort. So I think they will continue in the same direction. That is first thing. I've already covered a couple of points. First is related to factual base. Using good factual base, it is possible to actually solve most of the questions where elimination is not possible. If you have good factual base, it is possible to solve those questions. Second thing is if you have developed sufficient amount of, you can say, skill in solving MCQs using practice, using intuition, you can actually identify with good probability. I mean, you have to take a risk there. Without taking risk, I don't think it is possible to maximize score in prelims. I mean, usually I find a trend in my students, if you answer very less questions because you don't know about that question, then it is very difficult to clear the exam. And people who take maximum risk, every question they answer, there also they will get too many negatives. You have to take a calculated risk. You have to answer some questions extra apart from whatever you know. And you have to develop a skill of how, using existing knowledge, how I can derive probability. What is the probability that this option is probably correct? How to develop that skill when you're writing test series? Don't skip all the questions which you don't know. Think about, is there a way with which using existing knowledge I can answer this question? And it will force your mind to develop those connections and you can say help answer that question. This is first thing. And second part of the question was how UPSC is changing or in what direction it may, you can say, go in future. So, I mean, I cannot speak for UPSC, but as somebody who is in this space for a while, I can identify a few trends. First is UPSC is trying to create a level playing field for people who are taking coaching and who are not taking coaching. So because of this reason, what I find is whatever material is freely available, you can say they'll try to focus on those materials which are freely available. Premium materials which you pay for specifically, it is difficult that you'll find questions from that. I mean, there's a trend that I've observed. So NCERT books will become important. And even coaching notes also, if it is freely available on the website, then it becomes important. This is one thing. Second thing that I've seen is where your elimination or your previous prediction based on themes or something, okay, prelims has the same questions for so many years on Buddhism and next year we can expect it. That predictability we cannot find in future. So our only choice is actually to give equal attention for almost all subjects. Then the third trend that I've observed is they're trying to merge in a single question now. They're asking from different concepts. Imagine, for example, in economy, one statement is about inflation, second statement is about external sector, third statement is about fiscal policy. It's not no longer like an academic exam where a question is on inflation, a question we cannot point out the question is from this particular topic. And a couple of questions are there where you can't even point out the subject. First statement is from polity, second statement is from economy. So this way, they're trying to become truly multidimensional in terms of how questions are being asked. So these are the trends, and I think they're going to further increase only in future in UPSC that I've seen.
सर, अब ये जो चेंजिंग सिनेरियो आपने मेंशन किया, इस सिनेरियो में जैसे हम लोग देख रहे हैं कि अभी काफ़ी टेक्नोलॉजी से इनेबल्ड एआई टूल्स अवेलेबल हो गए हैं, इस चेंजिंग डायनामिक्स को एडजस्ट करने के लिए यूपीएससी के पैटर्न को भी और आने वाले रिसोर्सेस को साथ में लेकर के जो ट्रेडिशनल हमारे रिसोर्सेज हुआ करते थे उनको अगर हम एआई के साथ इनेबल्ड करके इंटीग्रेट करके प्रिपरेशन स्टार्ट करें तो क्या आपके ओपिनियन में ये ज़्यादा हेल्पफुल होगा ओवर दी जो पहले से चली आ रही हुई सिस्टम है उसके ऊपर एआई का क्या रोल हो सकता है किसी एस्पिरेंट के प्रिपरेशन में?
With regard to AI in UPSC preparation, would it be helpful? I would say yes, it is going to be helpful. And in future, actually, it can reduce our effort by up to 30-40%. A lot of wasted effort that we used to put in earlier preparation. This part we can actually reduce. But there is a catch here. If the student is somewhat comfortable with using technology and they feel that, okay, in my flow of learning, this whole thing can be integrated without disrupting my learning, then only it will be helpful. If the student feels only if I write it on paper and you can say use the same type of materials that I've used in school and college, this type of paper and pen is only what I'm comfortable with if I highlight it and revise that, then in that kind of a workflow, we cannot easily integrate, digital technology, AI, etc. In fact, in my class, I try to identify how many people are comfortable with it. And the number is growing. It used to be like some 5%, but right now I found in recent batch around 12-13% are comfortable with completely making notes on an iPad, and entire preparation happens on a digital device. And in these instances, it is much easier to leverage AI. And because the power of this AI technology is only increasing, I think students should start integrating this into their workflow or their whatever learning flow. Because those who are using it, they will get an obvious advantage and it will reduce their effort by 30-40%. That means it will save a lot of time. So it is worth the change in behavior that happens, that takes effort right now for students. Those who are unable to do it still may clear the exam, but that is in 2023-24. But if you take 2027, 28, 30, I think they'll be outcompeted by those who are actually leveraging AI.
सर, अगर कोई ऐसी टेस्ट सीरीज पर्टिकुलरली प्रीलिम्स के लिए आज अवेलेबल हो जिसमें AI प्लस ह्यूमन इंटेलिजेंस को इंटीग्रेट करके आपको ऐसा एनालिसिस मिल रहा है उस टेस्ट का जिसमें आपको ये बताया जा रहा है कि आप किन एरियाज में, मतलब किस सब्जेक्ट के किस सब टॉपिक में आप वीक है, मॉडरेट है और बहुत अच्छे है, तो वो हिसाब से आपको कितना एफर्ट कहाँ पुट इन करना पड़ेगा टू गेट अ पार स्कोर भी नहीं, प्रीलिम्स के स्कोर से कंफर्टेबली हायर स्कोर, जहां आपको ये अनसर्टेनिटी ना रहे कि मैं मेंस के लिए प्रिपेयर करूं या नेक्स्ट ईयर के प्रीलिम्स के लिए फिर से स्टार्ट करूं. तो अगर ऐसा कोई प्लेटफॉर्म या ऐसे टेस्ट सीरीज अवेलेबल हो तो आपके ओपिनियन में ये कितना यूजफुल होगा आज के चेंजिंग यूपीएससी के डायनामिक्स में?
It would be useful provided students have to make use of that. It will tell us, okay, this is where you need to focus upon. But after that, do we actually do anything about it? What I have found in students is they're writing tests to identify, okay, how well my preparation is. And after that, they're not doing much work. Actually, 1 out of 100 probably will do actual strong work on that test. That means they'll go back to that test and they'll identify, okay, the test is saying basically these are my weak areas and I now need to revise those areas or particularly focus on those areas. So that level of work that is being put in by students itself is, number of students are less. They lose interest in that and they will try to focus on the next test or next subject that they are studying. So if the tool, whatever the test series can focus on somehow guiding the student to put in that extra effort on the test, then it will become useful to the student.
From the list of the optional subjects that we have for UPSC, how were you able to zero in on public administration as an optional, or how would a candidate choose an optional in the first place?
How I chose it, basically I attended the demo class, first class of various optionals, anthropology, what it was about, public administration, what it was about, political science, what it was about. So faculty would tell us, okay, this is what you're going to study. And I felt, okay, it is better to choose some more optional which I'm interested in, so that I'll be able to put in that kind of effort. Even on those days where I don't have enough motivation, I should be able to still put in that effort. And that actually worked well for me, because I was able to put in a lot of effort on public administration. And without that, I don't think I would have even be able to score whatever I scored also. So I think primary criteria is interest in the subject. Most of you already probably know that UPSC does scaling in optionals. Still, we cannot be 100% sure that all optionals get equal weightage, all these things. We don't know about it. It is a black box basically. But whatever it is, we have to assume that, okay, all optionals almost have equal weightage from UPSC perspective, whatever scaling does internal happen. Somebody filed an RTA with regard to scaling, but UPSC said we won't divulge that information. So we don't know about what happens. In the absence of that information, I would say don't worry about how an optional is performing, because past performance is no guarantee of next year's performance. This is first thing. Second thing, you need to have very strong interest in the subject, because choosing an optional is like getting married. Basically, you can't keep changing your optional here and there. So once you choose it, you are stuck with it, because the switching costs are too high. That means the amount of effort that it takes to choose another optional and then prepare for it, it is too high. So it is important that you spend some time initially, take 15-20 days, go through toppers, what they are saying about that optional, whatever you are considering. Go through some videos where faculties would have discussed about this is what the optional is, what UPSC is expecting from that optional. Go through previous 10 years papers and what they are asking. You won't understand all the questions, but you will get a sense of what the subject is about. And that would give you enough idea on whether they have interest in studying these type of things. So that is the primary criteria I would suggest is, if you have interest, only then you will be able to put in adequate effort for a long period of time, 1 year, sometimes 2, sometimes in some cases more than that. So that requires, you can say, interest in the subject. This is what I usually recommend to my students.
What are the 3 mistakes that an aspirant should avoid while starting their UPSC preparation?
The most common mistake is accumulating a lot of resources. If you walk through any UPSC area, Lowell Rajendra Nagar, everybody is trying to sell you a book or material or something. What I have found is, the more materials you buy, the less chances of you clearing the exam. Because today exam has become hyper competitive, and what matters now is, have you done adequate amount of revision? Whatever you studied, is it there in your head when you actually write exam? I recently actually found a research that suggested that basically advertisers have done this research. Let us split remembering into 2 parts. One is recognition and second is recall. Recognition means whatever you have seen before, you should be able to recognize, okay, I remember seeing this. And prelims is a recognition test, because the answer isn't right in front of you. You just need to recognize, okay, I remember reading this in Lakshmikant, I remember reading this, you can say, in some textbook, and you'll be able to recognize it and answer it. And for recognition, you need around 4 to 5 exposure to the material to be able to recognize it. They've done a lot of research. You see a brand like washing powder Nirma, and you have to recognize that in the shop. Then you need to see that ad for 3-4 times. And if you have to recall the brand, if you have to ask in the shop exactly, I want Nirma, and you have to have that name in your mind, you need 8 to 10, you can say, exposures to the same name. And the same thing works here. The human brain is same, whether it is advertising or whether you are trying to recall something and write in mains. Mains, you cannot write well with 3 to 4 revisions. You need around 8 to 10 revisions of material to be able to write well in mains. So if you have to do 8 revisions, 10 revisions by the time of mains, then you need to stick to 1 or 2 materials for each subject. Beyond that, if you push, then it will create serious problems. This is first major mistake that students do. Second mistake is they don't write any answer or solve any MCQ until syllabus is over. You should start it from day one. Don't think that I have to write a perfect answer, I have to solve every question right. Start doing it. After a month, you start recognizing, okay, I can improve 1% here, 1% there. That is the right kind of approach. Then the third thing is thinking that, okay, if I study very well, 15 hours for 2-3 days, then I can take break for another 2-3 days. In entire UPSC journey, the most important thing is consistency. If you study only 6-7 hours a day, but you're absolutely consistent that there is, maybe you can say 95% of the time you have done this entire year, then your probability of clearing the exam is much higher. Because this is a game of skill. For example, consider a swimmer. If he swims 20 hours in a single day, and swimmer A, and swimmer B, if he swims half an hour for 40 days, which swimmer do you think will be better off? Who has more skill? It will obviously be somebody who practice for 40 days for half an hour a day. So if you try to do everything at once, I won't be able to develop that kind of skill. So this consistency is third important thing. First is not too many materials, stick to 1 or 2. Second is solving MCQs and writing answers from day one. And third is maintaining consistency. If you're not doing this, then those are mistakes. Basically, if you want to prepare for UPSC, I think it is better to spend about 1 month to decide whether you want to actually get into this whole thing. Do some proper research, what it actually takes and how much effort it takes, how much time probably it takes. Majority of the students are just directly jumping in, and first day in class they know nothing about actually the exam also. So this is one thing you can avoid by doing a little bit of research and then getting into this whole thing, knowing what it actually takes, first thing. So then second thing, once you have taken this decision, then don't look back, just give your 100%, give your best and then a little more. Then only you can say compete with the kind of, you can say, neck to neck competition that exists. These are the two things that I'd like to tell to students.
अब हमारे अकॉर्डिंग शैलेश सर के इनसाइट्स काफी वैल्यूएबल है और हर उस एस्पिरेंट के लिए है जो दूसरों की गलतियों से सीखना चाहता है और अपने पहले ही अटेम्प्ट में यूपीएससी को क्लियर भी करना चाहता है। जैसे कि सर ने बताया कि यूपीएससी में रैंडमनेस काफी इंक्रीज हो रहा है और पैटर्न भी बहुत रैपिडली चेंज हो रहा है। इस चेंजिंग सिनेरियो में पुराने रिसोर्सेज और हार्ड वर्क ये काफी नहीं होने वाला है, बल्कि आपको एक ऐसी स्मार्ट टेस्ट सीरीज की जरूरत है जो एस्पिरेंट को उसके प्रिपरेशन के बारे में माइक्रो एनालिसिस करके दे। तो सरल यूपीएससी की स्मार्ट रैंक 1 टेस्ट सीरीज सिर्फ एनालिसिस ही नहीं देती, बल्कि आपको आपके प्रिपरेशन का माइक्रो एनालिसिस देती है, जिससे आप यूपीएससी को सरलता से पहले ही अटेम्प्ट में क्लियर कर सकते हैं। अब ये चॉइस तो आपकी है कि आपको प्रीलिम्स में फेल होकर 1 साल वेस्ट करना है या फिर सरल यूपीएससी की रैंक 1 टेस्ट सीरीज को ज्वाइन करके यूपीएससी को बिल्कुल पहले ही अटेम्प्ट में क्लियर करना है। तो रैंक 1 सीरीज को ज्वाइन करने के लिए नीचे डिस्क्रिप्शन में दी हुई लिंक पर क्लिक कीजिए और नेक्स्ट एपिसोड में हमारे साथ होंगे आशीष सर, जिन्होंने इंटरव्यू में कुछ ज्यादा ही सच बोल दिया था और जिसकी वजह से वो थोड़े फंस गए थे। तो डोंट मिस द नेक्स्ट एपिसोड बाय क्लिकिंग द सब्सक्राइब बटन एंड हेल्प अस रीच टू द एस्पिरेंट्स मोर एंड मोर। सो कीप लर्निंग, क्योंकि हमारे साथ अब यूपीएससी होगा और भी सरल।